500 strong, and welcome to those of you who are attending this conference for the first time. This year, it's 12,150. Congratulations to Philippa and to Jordan and to everyone else who made this happen. I want to begin with a simple point. This event has been organized by an Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. But citizenship implies a distinct political entity. For most of the modern era, that entity was called the nation-state. Modern liberals trashed the nation-state and nationalism, invoking Hitler and Mussolini, and arguing that nationalism had caused World War II, not to mention the Holocaust. They failed to make a distinction between bad nationalism and good nationalism. They also underplayed the role of socialism, collectivism, as well as racial theories of fascism. The old liberals of the 19th century had passionately believed in the nation-state and saw it as indispensable for responsible citizenship. The modern liberals disagreed. Who are these modern liberals I'm referring to? Many were not liberals at all, in the sense that John Stuart Mill would have understood them. Some were really social democrats, well to the left of true liberalism. Some were tenured intellectuals who transformed the modern university into a place for brainwashing young minds into hating their national identity and history. Some were the editors in charge of legacy media whose focus in the past 50 years seems to have been to undermine the national institutions. Some worked as activists within the web of think tanks and NGOs. And finally, some ran the administrative state, the bloated bureaucracy that has come to see itself as the benign guardian against fascism while routinely suppressing liberty. What was it that they wanted to replace the nation-state with? The radical pursuit of heterogeneity in the name of multiculturalism and diversity? International and supranational entities designed to transcend or sidestep the nation-states, such as the United Nations or the European Union? Some even dreamt of world government, the globalists. There were other alternatives to the nation-state too. For example, Islamists argued and continue to do so that the caliphate should be restored and Sharia law imposed. But these visions of a post-national world are delusional. The international and supranational bodies turned out to be dysfunctional, tyrannical bureaucracy, and wasteful, chronically prone to fraud and abuse. The experiment, based on the bogus theory of multiculturalism, planned to bring about heterogeneous societies in Europe, has in large measure failed. As for the Islamist states, as we've seen, all the territories snatched and governed by jihadi insurgents are ghastly hellscapes. The only habitat worse than a Hobbesian state was the Islamic State, where life was even nastier, more brutal, and shorter. So part of my message to you today is simple. Stop the post-national experiment. It has already gone too far. Rubio, the rules-based international order, not the new Secretary of State, is over. From 1945 to, say, 2014, it had a good run, roughly 70 years. But let's face it, most of that period was the Cold War, from around 1948 until 1989. But the post-Cold War period, or shall we call it interbellum 2.0, is over. Maybe it came to an end on the 20th of January 2025. Or maybe it ended long before that, when the Syrian dictator used chemical weapons in 2013, or when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. But it's over, which means we can bid farewell to 2 or 3 decades of uncertainty. Uncertainty of identity, uncertainty of morality, and uncertainty of purpose. Decades of delusion. Now we can see clearly there is no better model than the nation state. The good news is that the proponents of a post-national global order are cast out into the political wilderness in America. The Democratic Party today cannot adopt the "let's sit this one out until 2028 and everything will be okay" posture of 2016. They have, number one, no clear leadership to help the party navigate its way out of the mess they have put themselves in. All the clever Democrats are now serving in or supporting the Trump administration. Number two, they have no funding. The big donors have moved on, especially after Kamala Harris's profligate campaign. Number three, they have no media monopoly. And it's not only X, formerly Twitter. There is a forest of new media, and most of that is right of center and beyond. Number four, they have no control of government, especially through the bureaucracy and intelligence communities. In fact, all DEI hires are being actively dodged from various agencies. Most important of all, their globalist message was rejected in favor of the America First agenda. In short, they have no power. And that is good news. It means Americans have a better chance of achieving the mission of this conference, which is to restore responsible citizenship. For me, responsible citizenship means the restoration of a healthy nationalism. That's the preeminence of national sovereignty, loyalty to a shared national identity, and citizenship defined as allegiance to the nation-state. It's fidelity to the Constitution or to the foundational principles and ethos of the nation, to the idea that all citizens are equal before the law, that we all have the same rights and obligations, that justice is blind, that we are all innocent of any crime until proven guilty, that the government is limited and constrained by law, and it's there to protect these things. But I have one more point to add, and it's the most important point of all. The nation-state also needs Christian morality, or in the case of Israel, the morality of the Torah. In Europe, Christianity remains, despite decades of secularization, the crucial operating system of society. Without it, the apps don't work. When I came to Europe in 1992, fleeing a forced marriage that was part of a failed clan system, this was the type of nation-state that I found. Wealthy, peaceful, stable, and optimistic. but still rooted in the Calvinist and Catholic traditions. I had left the chaos of Somalia and other African nations where I had lived, where tribal, ethnic, and religious conflicts had made it impossible to develop a healthy nationalism. What I found in Holland was truly inspiring to me. I found the same inspiration when I first went to the United States. But in the past 16 or so years, I have seen on both sides of the Atlantic a sustained effort to drive Christianity to the margins of our society. I believe this gamble on secularism will go terribly wrong. It already has. Every successful nation has to be based on more than a constitution and a body of law. There must be transcendental stories that unites citizens to an ethical as well as legal code. For the West, that was the Judeo-Christian story of the Bible. The biblical understanding of human sinfulness inspired the concept of limited state power or rule of law, emphasizing checks and balances to prevent tyranny, Isaiah 33:22. Governments are seen as instruments to maintain order and justice, but not as ultimate authorities. The belief that all humans are created in God's image, Genesis 1:27, underpins ideas of equal worth, human rights, and dignity for all individuals, including the poor and the neglected. Biblical teachings such as love your neighbor as yourself, Leviticus 19:18, emphasizes care for others and fairness in governance. The Bible's distinction between God's sovereignty and earthly authority in Matthew 22:21 influenced the Western principle that the state should not overreach into matters of faith and conscience. Biblical ethics stress that rulers and citizens are accountable to a higher moral law, ensuring that government acts justly and protects the vulnerable. Romans 13:3-4. These principles collectively shaped Western values like democracy, human rights, and constitutional government. That is why my message to you today, and the message of Courage.media, is to stress that responsible citizenship in the West is inseparable from Christian morality. Please, let's aspire to build or restore the nation states on which our security depends. And let's ensure that they run as they used to on that Christian operating system without which we can have no moral compass. Thank you.